I am so thrilled that you have joined us. Many of you have seen the full screening of Women of Valor, but if you haven't, we're going to show the trailer and then I'm going to introduce our incredible guests. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you do have questions that you would like to put forward to our panelists, please do so in the chat, and when we get to our discussion, we will certainly ask our two wonderful panelists. But without further ado, we're going to show you the trailer of Women of Valor if you haven't seen this extraordinary movie.
בסביבה שלי זה נתפס כרצון לצאת נגד הדת. חשבו שבאמת השתגעתי. אבל אני לא יכולה לשתוק יותר. יש פה קבוצה של 50% מהאוכלוסייה החרדית. היא צריכה להגיד כל הזמן שהכל בסדר, ותמיד עם חיוך על הפנים וסיר על הגז, אבל לא בסדר. אין לנו אף אישה חרדית שיושבת סביב אף שולחן של מקבלי החלטות.
ואני מרגיש האמת שמישהו שולח אתכם לפרק את החברה הישראלית.
אישה חרדית שלא מתביישת, תצא נגד כל גדולי ישראל שהיא טוענת שהיא חלק מהם.
ממתי נהייתי לא חרדית אמיתית? מהרגע שהתחלתי לדבר על הנושאים האלה.
לפני 100 שנה לא הייתה אף מדינה שאישה יכלה להצביע. וברוך השם,
נשים נאבקו על זה, הרבנים קמו בבוקר ונתנו לנשים זכות הצבעה.
אין בכלל לגיטימיות לשמוע את הקול שלי.
הגיע הזמן שאישה חרדית תהיה בפנים.
טוב, תקשיבי, פעילות היא מתחת לרדאר.
אין שום נציג חרדי שמייצג אותנו. אני מדברת איתכם על שכר, אני מדברת על פגיעות מיניות, אני מדברת על דברים שהם קריטיים.
If Haredi women dare to challenge the situation, they are exposed to threats and violence. We are here to complete the work of the suffragettes.
It always inspires me when I hear the word suffragettes, because I know that WIZO is one of those organizations at the forefront of helping women to get the vote. And even here in our own country of Israel, when David Ben-Gurion, our first prime minister, declared the state of Israel, there were two formidable women that were there at that declaration and signed the Declaration of Independence. One was Golda Meir, and the other was Rachel Kagan, a member of WIZO, because WIZO back then was a political party. So this movie, and Esti, your exceptional work really warms the heart and really is emblematic of the culture and the work that we do here at WIZO. So before we get into our question session, I'm going to introduce both Esti and Anna. Esti Shushan is a Haredi woman, mother of 4 children, and the eldest of 12 brothers and sisters. Esti is the founder of the Lo Nivcharot, Lo Bocharot movement, which is Hebrew for not elected, not electing. The movement has been transformed into a non-profit organization where Esti has been serving as CEO under the name Nivcharot. Esti is a lecturer, a media persona, writer, artist, decorator, facilitator, and content creator. Really talented lady. In recent years, she has lectured in Israel and abroad regarding her personal story and activism. She has launched the Haredit Meduberet podcast, which is Hebrew for ultra-Orthodox, in reference to being an ultra-Orthodox woman who is being spoken about. So it's called Colloquial Ultra-Orthodox. In 2014, her film was presented in festivals in Israel and abroad, and she has created the film Echad Mi Yodea, referring to the famous song from the Passover Haggadah. In 2020, which was broadcast as a part of a project focusing on the Pesach during COVID. Esti is currently working on a television show based on her personal story and a first poetry book scheduled for publication by the Tangier publication or publisher. In 2017, Esti was awarded the Daphne London Yaari Award for Feminist Social Activism. In 2018, Esti was named one of the top 20 most influential female activists in Israel by the Lady Globes magazine. In 2019, she was awarded the Rappaport Prize for groundbreaking feminist activism, and in 2020 was named one of 20 most promising young Israelis of the next decade. It's a pleasure to welcome you, Esti Shoshan, to our global family and our wonderful guests today. Anna Samoshaf is an Israeli documentary filmmaker and producer born in Moscow, and we are very happy to have her here in Israel with us, in Tel Aviv. Her films deal with social, political, and burning issues. She is the director and producer of Women of Valor. The world premiere was at the Jerusalem Festival, and this is a documentary about ultra-Orthodox women fighting for representation in the Israeli parliament. Among her previous projects as a director, Jihad Now, a TV series about global jihad, and Holy Land, a documentary about a Ghanaian pastor of migrant workers. The film was screened on Israeli TV in international festivals and has won several awards. And I think we would all like to see your film on global jihad. As a producer, Anna also completed Shy K by Ari Davidovich, Mixed Feelings by the Emmy Award winner Guy Davidi. She has worked on international award-winning documentaries such as the Oscar shortlisted Advocate by Rachel Leah Jones and Philippe Belash, Disturbing the Peace by Steve Atcon, which is also from Netflix, and Underground Ballet by Lena Chaplin and others. Anna also produced the Greenhouse Project for filmmakers from the Middle East. These days, she's working as a producer at the Trabelsi Productions film company. Anna graduated with honors from the Sapir Film School and participated in an international program at La Femme Film School in Paris, and completed an MA in Cultural Studies in Tel Aviv University. She is an alumni of IVLP, the US department, and in addition to her filmmaking activity, is also teaching documentary and research at the cinema department of Beit Bel College. They say, Anna, if you want to get things done, ask a busy woman, and you certainly are that, and a talented one as well. Welcome to our panel. So I'm going to kick off with the first question, and just a reminder to our guests, if you want to ask a question, please put it in the chat, and we will ask them as we go about the panel. So ladies, the Haredi community is viewed by many as very secretive and almost hidden. What made you want to document this particular story?
So I guess this one is for me. So first of all, thank you so much for having us here, and I'm so excited to see so many people from all over the world. So I'm not an ultra-Orthodox, and I'm not even religious, and I actually came by to this subject and issue by mistake, I can say. I met Esti Lidolindolsky, one of the Nivcharot participants at the university and in my MA studies. And for me, I knew only things that I read in the newspapers. So for me, I was really blown-minded when I got to meet Esti, and then Esti and the other ladies. They broke so many ideas, so many stigmas I had in my mind. And I was really blown away by their courage, by their intelligence, by their power to actually stand up and do something in order to change the situation. And I felt like the story has to be told. I felt like it's really I'm having this opportunity to tell as if I'm living in the time of the suffragettes, and I'm with a camera, so I have to do it. And it was a long journey. It took us about 4.5 years of shooting, and it took a lot of time also to convince them and to trust me and to understand that it's because it is very It's not simple to get a camera inside your life, especially as an ultra-Orthodox. So this for me was the beginning of the journey.
Now, the movie opens up with quite a frightening scene of Haredi women being followed and almost harassed for putting up election posters. What was the situation for Haredi women prior to this incredible journey?
This question is for me, Rolene?
This question is for either of you. Go ahead.
First of all, hi everybody. I'm very excited to be here to see women all over the world, and WIZO, it's an organization that I love, that we work together. So thank you everybody for having me with you today. You see in the movie the scenes that, you know, in the cinema, it's good for cinema, like a man that take the posters, but the challenges is things that maybe you cannot film. You cannot take a picture from the real challenges in this situation. The feeling that you are alone in this fight, in this struggle. And for me, it was to start this journey alone as a woman that want to change and even don't know how to start this change. It was long before I met Anna, and to look around myself and ask myself how another woman cannot see the situation like me. How cannot they understand that they are not exist in the public sphere, they are not exist around the tables, and to start this movement and to speak out the thought that I have in my mind, and to see the people around me think that something is wrong with me. And this is the difficulties, the challenges. To meet that man in the street, you know, it was not a kind situation, but it was, we are in the action of in the middle of the action, that when we are here and we were group of women, brave women that wanted to change. So it's something that was pretty fun to handle in this time. But the challenges and the difficulties are more complicated, and most of them maybe you cannot see in the movie.
I've got a comment here coming from Austria. You are brave and I admire your fight, but the Israeli constitution excludes non-democratic parties, is not allowing women to be a candidate not a violation of democratic rules? I hope I have paraphrased that correctly. What are your comments on that? Is it undemocratic for this to have been the situation?
You know, the democratic issue, it's a question, because when I ask here politicians and people why they allow this situation that two parties can deny women from being a participant there. And people, I heard the answer, you know, it's not democratic to force a party to place women. If there are parties that want to be with only men and people vote for these parties, so it's not democratic to change it. I heard such answers like that, and it's always I have to sharp my answers to this and my arguments and my to explain why it's not democratic, why women in the Haredi society cannot really fight, because not all the women can pay the prices that in this struggle. It's not something that even I can ask for any Haredi woman to come and stand and speak out and pay the prices. So if they are talking about democracy, about this, it's very important to understand what the prices that women that speak have to pay.
And if I may add, this is exactly why it was important for me to do this movie, because I don't think it's a problem of the small ultra-Orthodox society or of 50% of women from the ultra-Orthodox society. It is a problem of the whole Israeli society, because we are paying the same price. I mean, the fact that there are 16 seats in the Knesset that do not allow women, it influences the whole agenda and the whole public sphere in Israel. It allows to deny women from other public domain. It allows people feel that it's okay to erase photos of women in publicities or to do other things. So I feel that it is for the Israeli society very, very relevant, and many people think, well, it's their problem. They don't want to elect women, or they choose to stay in the society. Okay, I don't care. It's their issues, but it's their issue. But I think it's fundamental problem that needs to be fixed, and we need to take responsibility, not only to say, okay, this is free choice, let them handle it.
And who better to make a movie about this than a female documentary producer? I have a comment here that says, it is not a matter of being Haredi, it is a matter of men giving away power. In Jewish tradition, there were always powerful women, even in the Bible. So the men must learn to share power and responsibilities. What about the younger generation of men? Are they more cooperative?
I think it depends. It's very individual answer, because I see that in the young generation, I see it's not like in my father's and mother's generation. It's different, and the fact that women are handling and providing the families and have the money and give the money, it gives them more independency and more opportunities to work, to raise themselves, and to be more powerful. There is a change in generations. I'm speaking in my activities, in my public activities, I'm speaking about the public situation, because in the house, in your family, it's very individual. I'm speaking about the law, about the regulation, about the democracy, about the fact that the state can work together with parties that deny women, with parties that have no place for women. It's not only the representation issue, because when there is no women in these parties, there is no issues like women issues like health or education, and even domestic violence and sexual abuses and harassment, and all of these women issues are not on the table, and it affects me as a Haredi Israeli citizen, and it's affects everybody around me. So that's what we are talking about. Also, when we become a movement and women join us, so always comes issues like how families together, how husband and wife should work together. Who is just yesterday there is a very, very emotional discussion in a WhatsApp group of Nivcharot about who should lead the family, the husband or the wife, and women give. We have women always from all the perceptions. So there are women that still think that the husband should lead and not matter how powerful the woman is. So these issues are coming up in the internal circles of Nivcharot, but in our public activities, we are talking about public problems like women. There is no women in the political sphere at all, and how it affects us.
Anna?
Yeah, I'd just like to add regarding the question of generations. For me, being with them for 5 years, I really see the development. And if you watch the movie, you saw that there was a leadership group, right? The first one was with WIZO, and I saw a couple of these groups along the years, and it amazes me how different the women who come to these. It's like each year or each 2 years is another generation. So if Esti's generation dares to stand up and speak, but it comes with a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, thanks to their struggle, the new generation, they just don't care. I mean, they're not afraid. Most of them are not afraid to put themselves on Facebook and to say what they're really thinking, and to put likes on. I mean, it seems such a small thing to put like on the Facebook post that you support. But when Esti started, nobody wanted to acknowledge in public the fact that they support this movement. So I'm really optimistic. Maybe Esti is a little bit more careful, but I'm really optimistic that the change is coming inside the society, because I see how women, young women, and also men. And we do need men in this struggle. I believe that it's not something that women can do by themselves. It's really important to understand that both sides can really win from this cooperation.
It's incredible that the things we take for granted in the secular community, Facebook posts and social media, to see the transference through the generations in the Haredi community is so extraordinary. And I have to say, WIZO is extremely proud of our history of women's empowerment and making sure that the generations to come not only stand on the shoulders of the ones that have come before, but have these opportunities at their fingertips to learn, to skill up, so that they can improve the situation for the women and for their community. Now, just a reminder for anyone wanting to ask questions, please pop them in the chat, questions, comments, and we will get to them with our panelists. But I know that when I watched the movie, there was a scene that I felt quite emotional to me, and that was the scene of the women watching the movie about the suffragettes and saying, please don't get my face on camera. Why was this so controversial? Why was it, first of all, so controversial to watch this movie about suffragettes, but also to ensure that they're not captured on camera doing so?
I think it's one of the מאפיינים, the
characteristics.
It's one of the definitions of how Haredi women should present themselves in public. It was very hard to expose yourself as a Haredi woman. I remember when I started to write in a newspaper, a small newspaper in the north of Israel, and it was like by accident that I started to write it, because I'm coming as a graphic designer. So I was very, I didn't want to put my name as a writer. It's not even my photo. It's just to put my name and to say I am a writer. and I have an opinion and I want you to read what I have to say. It's something that it's from the education of modesty. It's perceptions what women should behave in public. It's complicated, but for women to expose themselves in this situation of when they are exposed their real thoughts, their real emotions, it's very hard. And these women, this event was before about 5 years. It was long before on our timeline. It was hard to make like for Nivcharot, and it was hard to expose yourself in the camera and to say to the world, what do you really think about the situation? But I know these women that didn't want to the camera, I know her, and I know where the place she is now, and I see the change. That's the situation. You are starting, and it's hard at first, and it's hard to expose yourself. But when you are there to do that, it's become easier.
And also, I think the decision to screen these ladies, the film Suffragettes, is brilliant. And because in a way, all of us, we like to think that our life is perfect and we don't have any problems, or we're not depending on anybody. Never mind if you're from which community you come, from which society you come. We all have something that is holding us back, right? So I think the fact that the power of cinema is so strong, because when you watch a movie, if it's a documentary or fiction, you can in a way not put yourself in it, right? So you watch something, it's a mirror, it's a window, but it's also a mirror, and then you can meet yourself, and then you look at yourself and at your situation, and you start thinking, well, maybe I do. My life does have some influence, or I'm not exactly free to do whatever I want. So Ronen, I also really love this scene, one of my favorites, and I think this is also the power that women, everybody there cried, right, during the film, and it's not just because the film is good, it's also because they felt exactly the same spots that touched them, that didn't really change for 100 years.
I have a comment here from Paulette Cherney, the president of WIZO Australia, who says she has huge admiration for Esty in being so brave and standing up and breaking the glass ceiling and leading the way for so many other religious women. And ladies and gentlemen, again, if you want to pop your questions and comments into the chat, we will include them here as well. Now, something which I would imagine many people outside of Israel found fascinating, I know I certainly didn't, and I'd like to hear about the process that you went through to make this happen, and how this alliance came to be, is the unlikely ally in Palestinian women. You know, how did this come to be? What were some of the challenges, some of the successes? It really is, you know, they say every good movie has a twist, and this movie certainly had its own unique twist.
Mm-hmm. Esty, do you want to start about the cooperation with the Palestinians?
Okay, for me, it was like natural collaboration, because every time when I meet Muslims women all over the world, not only Palestinians and also Palestinians women, I feel that we are connected immediately, more than the connections that I have with secular women, or I don't know, another Israeli women. I feel that the fact that both of us, that we and the Palestinian women are from traditional societies, we can understand each other more than everybody can understand. Most of the issues we don't even need to speak about, just with eyes they understand what we mean. And I think that it was very powerful connection with Arab Muslims, Palestinian women. We have also we worked together with Aida Toma Saliman. She is the head of the Committee of the Rights of Women in the Knesset. And she told us at first when we met her, she told us, you know, it's not so good for you because the conflict, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it's not good for you to work with me. But I told her, you are the head of the committee. I want to work with you because you, from all another women, you can understand what we are talking about. You can understand when people told you, it's not democratic to force somebody to place a woman. You can understand the real blocks that women like us, women in traditional societies, had to deal with. So we worked with her, and we had, some years ago, we had a meeting between some activists from Nazareth to some Haredi activist that comes from Jerusalem and Bnei Brak. And it was very interesting to speak together and to understand the common values, the common problems, the common challenges that women like us should deal with.
And on the other hand, as you can see in the film, it's not easy because I think that we live in a place where the power tries to divide, right? To rule and divide. It's easier sometimes to make small groups turn against each other, because if they cooperate and if they understand that they have big power, then they can, God forbid, make a change. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges that Esti and her friends are dealing with, because it's not an easy. It's not easy to cross the side. It's not easy to go to the enemy. And that's why I like the fact that this dilemma is on screen, because it's, on one hand, it's a very natural cooperation, but on the other hand, both sides will pay price for this. Criticism, delegitimation, and all kinds of other ways to separate.
What was the reception like in both communities for this movie?
So I please repeat your question.
What did both communities, the Haredi and the Palestinian communities, think of this movie? Have they seen it?
I think not enough.
Not yet. We're working on it. So we just had a premiere in Jerusalem Film Festival last summer, and then we had the film going through several festivals in Israel, and now we're also reaching the States and the world. So we only started our journey, but we are, like, this is our biggest dream, to get to the Haredi society, like the mainstream Haredi society, and of course other groups such as Palestinians and others, because I really think that each one can find himself or herself in this film, because it's a human rights. I think somebody wrote this in the chat. It's a human rights story. It's not only like a Haredi story, and. But I can tell that in the premiere that we had, there were many activists from the ultra-Orthodox society who know Esti, and some of them even take part in the struggle. And there were also many secular viewers. And the screening was just mind-blowing. It was accepted with so much love, and also later on other screenings, because even the people who know Esti, they never knew like the inside, the journey. Each one sees only a small fraction of her life, but in a way the film tells her personal story and her activist life. So it was really, people clapped in the middle of the film, they cried, they laughed, we had a standing ovation. It was really well received, and I think for me, like one of the biggest successes that in one of the screenings where the mother of Esti's mom came, and she spoke after the screening, and she said, it's true. At the beginning, we thought that our daughter got crazy with this idea. But today, after watching the film and after watching her doing her thing, I can say that I'm so proud of her, and we are also proud of her. And so that's for me like is the best thing, that a mother can look at her daughter and maybe a little on another angle.
Now, going to the United Nations, which just the very mention of the word United Nations, everybody's blood pressure goes up, because we know that it's quite a hostile place for Israelis, often for Jews. We feel often maligned at the United Nations. What was that like? I'm very curious, because we have a presence at the UN, and some of our ladies will tell you that sometimes it can be very hair-raising. What was that like for you, walking in with Palestinian women, very unexpected, in a place that puts us into one kind of a box? Describe that experience for us.
As I said before, for me, at first it was very natural. But when we got to the UN, to Geneva, and we got to the point that we, as NGO, sat again, and in the other side was my state, and my state had to give me answers to the report we got. And for me, and I looked around and I see another Palestinian organizations, and that was the point that I understood that maybe should be a problem. We talked about before, but in this situation, to sit against my state, for me it's wow. Okay, maybe we have a real problem. The fact was that the state and her representatives gives answers that I don't have any good words to say about this, but it was hard. For me as a mother of soldiers, for me as a citizen of Israel, it was like a moment. But when you connect people in the personal stage, when you speak to people, when you meet people, you cannot really see the differences. You understand that all of us deal with the same problems. All of us need to work with the patriarchy on us. So that's for me. Like in my personal journey with them. It was always a difference between the personal situation and the public situation. Together, we are working together, and it's very fun. And we feel that we made something. But what the media will say, what people around me will say. I lost some friends after the UN. Yes.
I'm sure you've paid a very steep personal price in a lot of ways for putting this together and for the work that you're doing. And any responses from you, how it's maybe affected you in your work, in your daily life, going to speak at the United Nations?
Sorry, was it for me? I didn't.
Yeah.
How did it affect me? So actually we filmed this sequence quite early. in a stage when there was no really a movie, there was no budget, we didn't get any support yet. And when I heard that they're thinking about going to the UN, I said, I'm coming with you. I don't care. And it was really complicated to get the approvals to go there and to film inside this sacred place. In a way, it's very hard to get in. But I think that was the moment when Esti spoke and when the feedbacks of the other countries started and the other committee members started to come. That was the moment when I was like realized that for 100% I have a movie. I have like a dramatic and an historic thing, and I think in a way also for us it was a way, because sometimes when you are inside your own problem or inside your own life, you don't have an external point of view. And okay, you're living your life and you're doing whatever you can, but once you zoom out and you see yourself, like, and you see your reflection in the reactions of the committee members who were shocked by this fact that there are women who cannot be elected to the parties that they vote for, then in a way I think it also gave a lot of power to them.
I have a question from Rosie. She wants to know, Esti, have you become any less orthodox from this process?
I think that this process made me to appreciate more and more my identity as the Haredi women. Because at first I was angry, yes. I was angry about the situation, and that's what led me to the action. But through the process, through the journey, when people, one of the most known criticism about me and Nivcharot, that you are not a real Haredi, you are not that's how people try to take from me the legitimate to speak. But more and more I felt that this is my community, and the fact that I care about, that I want to change, it means that I love this place, I love this life, I love these people. This people is my people, and I want this place to be better in the next generation, and that's why I'm working, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I hope this is good answer to the question.
So I've got the same question for both of you to answer in your own way. Oh, I've got another one from Sylvia, also from Australia. Has your husband been supportive through your journey? For both of you, I'm going to ask you, what have your families been like through this whole journey, this very, very important and complicated journey?
For my husband, now is my ex-husband, it wasn't easy at first, but I have to say that he became more supportive. I cannot say that he became a great feminist, but it was like, if it's something that makes you happy, go for it. I think that even now, when we are not a husband and wife, but good friends, he told me every time that he is appreciate and even miss sometimes the action that I give to the life with this activity, with this challenges. That.
And he was very.
How has your family reacted?
I will tell you. I just want to add that Esti's ex-husband was very, very proud. He also attended the premiere, and he was very, very proud to be there. So my family is very supportive. It's impossible to make such a long journey without the support and the understanding and the pushing and the emotional support, everything. So yeah, my husband and I also had just months after the screening of the film, I had my first baby born. So very So thank you. So it was a very challenging, but also very, very exciting journey for me as well.
Before we wrap up with the final question, we have a question from Nima in Germany. She says, Esti, how do you see your fight for the rights of Haredi women influencing your daughter's development and decisions, and how do your sons cope with that?
Love that question.
What is the part in the last question in the...
I'm going to ask it again. How do you see your fight for the rights of Haredi women influencing your daughter's development and decisions, and how do your sons cope with that?
Okay, so my children actually grew up to the process, because it's almost 10 years, a decade in their life, in their growing process, that they were exposed to my activity. I remember my daughter, she was, now she's married, and but I remember her, she was about 13 years old. She had to make an English work, and she chose to write in English about me, about her mother, and about my work. And for me, and it was I was very excited. I remember it, because I felt that my daughter adapt this value, and even she didn't notice that she adapted, because it was very part of our life, of what she knows about her mother. For my sons, it wasn't easy to understood when they grew up and understood what their mother did. But when they were in the premiere and watched the film and understood the whole process, and understood the understood everything, and where their mother was all these years, I think it makes them very proud of me. And for me, I was very exciting to see that. I'm sure that my children are not the same like another girls and boys in our community. They think different. They see, even when they are reading Gemara or Talmud, in their mind, they think, what my mother have to say about this pasuk, about this quote. And always they come and say to me, you know, mommy, we learned today about this rabbi that said like this, and what do you think about this? So in their mind, they always hear me and what I had to say about this, about the patriarchy, about women and men, and what is the status of women in Jewish life.
So ladies, our final question is, where do we go to from here? What are the next steps for the movie? What are the next steps for the rights for Haredi women? Where do we go from here? Who wants to take it first? Anna?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned before, this is only the beginning for us, and our goal is to really get, hopefully also physically, but also by Zoom, to as many communities as possible, to have these discussions, because I think this film is in a way a call for action. And when you watch it and when you talk about it, then maybe other people will decide to do something about their own issues, or maybe help this issue. So for us, it's we're now also translating the film to Russian, hopefully soon to Arabic, because we really want this to go everywhere. And I really believe in the power of cinema and the impact that film can make. It takes time, it's not an immediate change, but I think once you create some kind of change in people's mind and show them that what they thought about some kind of community or some kind of group is not exactly the reality, then they start questioning other things, and then they will want to make a change as well.
Esti?
So Nivcharot have a lot of plans and a lot of job to do. You know, it's a field that we are the only organization for now that work on it. And one of the steps that we did in the last month is from the participant, from the community that become from Nivcharot, about 22 women gave to the Haredi parties an official documents that they want to be apart from the parties. I don't know if you remember from the movie, there is a scene that I told to Esti Reader that we need one woman that will knock the door and ask for joining. So after 4 years, we have not only one woman, we have more than 20 women that now knocking on the door and ask for joining, only join to the party. And we are working together with Tami Ben-Porat, the lawyer that lead the petition in the Supreme Court in Israel. And we are at the first step of this action. And I hope that will be interesting. I know that it will be very interesting, but I hope that it will be the next step of breaking the seal.
Well, I want to thank you both for being our inaugural guests for Cinema WIZO. I cannot think of a better film with a better message to kick this off with. I want to thank everybody from around the world, Australia, India, Germany, Switzerland, Belgium, Austria, South Africa, for joining us this morning, not to forget our wonderful contingent right here in Israel. We will be having a second session of this later tonight. If you want to watch again, or if you want to tell anybody in your community or family to join us later this evening, the movie is going to start at 6 o'clock Israel time, and our panel session at 7:30. Thank you, ladies, for doing what matters.
Thank you.
Being absolute role models for all of us around the world. And I want to wish you all a wonderful rest of your day and evening for you guys.
And if I also may add, thank you to Dani Shapiro and the whole team in WIZO preparing this wonderful event. And you're more than welcome to join us at the Facebook page, Women of Valor, Eshet Chayil, and see the developments and help us get far as possible.
Thank you, Rolene.
And thank you, Rolene, so much.
Thank you, Rolene. It was my pleasure. Thank you, WIZO, for the opportunity to speak to people all around the world. And thank you, all the wonderful ladies that come and listen this morning. Thank you very much.
True women of valor.